friend referred me to the video by Skid Marks. I've just watched the first 5 minutes of it, where he says that the ANC-DA coalition is going to fail, and his supporting evidence for this is the selection of corrupt or allegedly corrupt premiers and, the president and so on. So I think that perhaps Skid Marks doesn't understand compromise, and I think that, in Natal, if the 55% manage to get themselves together and form a coalition government, then I think that's good. I think that if one is married for 26, 27 years, as I have been, then I think one realizes that, a marriage is something where you learn to compromise, where you learn to look after your own beliefs, you learn to have values, and you learn not to stress. Now, my biggest problem is that I'm an optimist, and my blood type is B positive. So I'm a B positive optimist. And because I'm an optimist, I choose to live in South Africa. If I wasn't an optimist, I would choose to live somewhere else. But I live in South Africa because I'm African. I was born here. I left the old South Africa because I didn't want to fight my friends in the townships in 1986 and when I finished university. And I came back in 1995 after voting in the election, in the referendum in the election in 93 and 94. So I'm here. I'm here to stay. I want to build South Africa. I want to make South Africa great. And I want everybody that I know to be doing the same thing. Now, imagine if the MK and the EFF and the ANC got together. Firstly, the MK and the EFF are people that have left the ANC because they looked at the ANC and they said, this is not our ANC. So firstly, I think that when the DA had this thing called the multi-party committee, whatever it was called, the multi-party, I didn't like that at all. I said to people I know who were working towards it, it's a bad idea. These kinds of things should happen after elections, not before elections. I think they confused the electorate. I think the DA probably got 1 million or 2 million votes less than they could have got because of the multi-party charter. And the same with the UIM, the UDM, the ACDP, and so on. I think they all got a lot fewer votes. I think people were confused because they knew that if you're voting for the ACDP, voting for the DA, etc. But I think that, when you look at the ANC getting 40% and the DA getting 9% and just needing one other party to make 1% or 2% to get to the 50 plus 1% and to actually make a difference, I think that it's important to look at what's happening here and to say, wow, there's a future for South Africa. I think that, the opposition, the former opposition, which is the DA, there's now a new opposition, I suppose, the MK, but the former opposition, the DA, has got together with the ANC and said, we need to leave the multi-party charter. We need to work with our former so-called enemies because we have the same mission. What is the mission? A wonderful, fantastic, strong, vibrant, economic, full employment South African economy. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, green, orange, pink, red. It doesn't matter if you're gay. It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you choose to live in South Africa and you choose to contribute to South Africa, we want you. If you choose to be a taxpayer, we want you even more because so many people are leaving the tax net one way or another. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, hope I'm saying, that I believe that the coalition government will be a success. I believe that having 7 or 9, however many MPs, I think that ministers, I think 7 or 9 ministers have left or are being fired or being made redundant, although they get 2 years of pay, which is quite incredible, and they get their normal retirement as well, as a former government minister. But them being replaced by mostly DA people, I think will be good for South Africa. I think that the opposition being not just in parliament, but actually being in government and seeing what's happening and having, strong debates about the future, I think that that'll make South Africa work. I think we all know that we need to compromise. I think we all know that having one view is what killed us in the lockdown, in the so-called COVID era. Whether you should have a vaccination or not, I'm not interested in talking about that. Whether you should be locked down or not, the only people that should be locked down according to Torah, according to ancient wisdom, are people that should be quarantined, people that are sick. But maybe the whole world is sick, I don't know. Maybe that's the message. Maybe we're all sick. But assuming that you were sick because you had COVID, then you should have been quarantined. So, we have this issue that we need to get past. We need to be scientists. And the thing about scientists is that scientists value opposing decisions, opposing objections, opposing mindsets. We want that. If I say the sky is blue and you say the sky is green, then let's have a debate about whether the sky is blue or green. Let's define what we mean by blue or green. I think there's a lot of things happening here. And then I think there's, people quoting Mandela. Well, the fact is Mandela, had his heyday in the late 1980s and the 1990s. And the things that he said represented the ANC of the time. And the ANC of today, 30 years later, is not the same ANC. Just as language develops, people that learn foreign languages who were maybe born in 1950 and their parents taught them French or German or Serbian or Chinese, whatever. And now, 60 years later, 70 years, maybe they never left South Africa, but they learned that language. And now they hear German and French and Chinese and Yugoslav people speaking. They discover the language has changed. So the fact that you learnt Italian, for example, in 1950, doesn't mean it's the same Italian in 2024. The Italian has changed. So the nature of the world is changing. The people are changing. I am not my father. I am not my grandfather. The ANC of today is not the same ANC of 1970 or 1980 or 1990 or 2000 or 2010. Or even of 2020, only 4 years ago. It has changed. It is changing. One would hope that it's changing for the better. One would hope that when one looks at what's happening now in South Africa, one would hope that the DA and the ANC and the IFP and the other parties getting together, working together, will find a way to solve our problems, to work towards a future that we all want. A future that we all want to be safe together, to know that I can trust my neighbor, that I can trust my government to do the right thing, that my government doesn't come and expropriate my property that I've spent 30 years working towards. I don't want to come home and discover they've taken my car, or they've taken my house, or they've taken my furniture, or they put 5 families in my house. I don't want to see that. I want to live in a world where I can work for stuff that I believe in, where I can work towards something that I believe in, where I can work towards this beautiful South Africa. And we have so much natural resources underground, and we have so many even more natural resources above ground. 60 million people. An incredible resource. If only we'd stop fighting with each other, if only we'd stop this move towards coloureds voting for the coloured party and whites voting for whichever party and blacks voting for whichever party and Xhosa people voting for one party and Zulus voting for another party. And that's why I think the government on national unity will work, because I think all these separate parties are now in government together and in the cabinet together. And they're going to fight about things, and they're going to work through their problems, and they're going to find solutions that are going to be better and make South Africa a more viable place. And so I pray with you, and I pray today, on Youth Day, that we have a better future. I pray that more youth will find ways to find jobs so that they can start working at any pay. My personal opinion is I don't believe in minimum pay. Why don't I believe in that? Because people need to get their first job. If you're going to invoke minimum pay, invoke it from age 30 onwards. Say by 30 you should be earning X. But you've got to start, and you've got to have productivity. You've got to want to be promoted. You've got to want to get better. You've got to want to earn more money. You've got to want to do the things you want to do. But you have to start somewhere. I started cleaning cars and mowing lawns. And then I worked in an ice cream shop. I worked as a volunteer, and I did all kinds of things to get where I am today, and I studied. And I'm still studying. And I'm still trying. I'm still trying to make the world a better place every day. I want our world to be a better place. I want our Africa to be a better place. I want us to be African with Ubuntu. I want us to look to a future which is incredible and amazing. And I believe that the coalition government will make this happen. In my heart of hearts, I really believe that when two parties get together in a marriage, which is not a contract where I'm right and you're wrong, but it's a covenant. We both right. We both have views which must be respected. Then we can work together. As long as we know what our outcome is. What is our outcome? We want to have a better South Africa. What is a better South Africa? A better South Africa is a South Africa where everybody can have jobs, where everybody can work, where everybody can walk in the road, where everybody can feel safe, where everybody can be part of this rainbow nation that Nelson Mandela really wanted. It doesn't matter which nationality you are. It doesn't matter which color you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter if you're male or female or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter. It matters that in your heart you want South Africa to be a better place. It matters that in your heart you want South Africa to be a safer place. It matters that in your heart you want to earn more so you can pay more tax so everybody can benefit and we can drag everybody into the future. It matters that we all work towards a future that we can all look towards and say, wow, we made that happen. Yes, we've made mistakes in the last 30 years and in the previous 30 years before that and the 30 years before that, the last 100 years, we've made mistakes. But we need to learn from our mistakes. We need to learn from our mistakes. We need to say we're not going to make those mistakes again. By 2050, we're going to live in a multicultural society where everybody's respected. Where a woman doesn't have to get permission from her husband to go for a walk. Where a woman can drive a car. Where a gay can walk down the road. Where Jews and Palestinians and Christians and Muslims and Yemenites and Jordanians and Saudi Arabians and French and Americans and people from Zimbabwe and Zambia and Mozambique and all these people can all walk side by side holding hands on the beachfront in Cape Town without killing each other, murdering each other, waving flags and inciting people to violence. Do you get what I'm saying? By 2050, we want to live in a multicultural society with liberty, equality, and fraternity. I made videos on those. You need to look up what they are. Find my videos on liberty, equality, and fraternity. See what I said about those. I want that world. And I want the world where my values stay my values. Where your values stay your values. You can have your religion, I can have my religion. You can have your way of life, I can have my way of life. I believe in a heterosexual life. If you believe in a gay life, that's fine. I'm not impacting you, you're not impacting me. You're not forcing your view on me, I'm not forcing my view on you. But the only thing is, we're working together for the betterment of South Africa, for the betterment of Africa. We're working towards a world that we want to live in. A safe, kind, generous, peaceful world. We're a tiny speck in an infinite universe with thousands of stars, millions of planets, and apparently thousands of galaxies. Each galaxy with billions of stars. It's unbelievable. And we're a speck of dust in the corner. And we're given an opportunity to work for peace and to work for humanity and to work for kindness and generosity. And if we do that, we'd achieve enlightenment. And let's make that happen from South Africa, from the South. We have this chance to make our world a better place. We have to work together to make it work. We have to see the other point of view. We have to allow each of us to be who we are. Because we want South Africa to be great. We want our world to be great. We want our Africa to be great. We don't want to be pessimistic. I know that we can be idealists and never get to an outcome, but we want to also be realists. We want to make it real. And if it's real, we can achieve that ideal that we set for ourselves. We can make our world a better place. So it's now 2024. In 26 years, when I'm 86 years old, I want to be able to look back at the last 26 years. And I want to say, wow, look what we did. We're at full employment. Every single person has a job. Every single person's paying tax. Every single person's earning much more than whatever minimum wage we could have set. We have abundant electricity and abundant water and abundant food. We have the world's most prestigious railway system and transport system. We've built aeroplanes and we've built railways and we've built trains and we've got the most fantastic engineers. And everybody's coming here because of health and because we have fantastic meditation centers. We have the most egalitarian people, and we have every kind of religion represented. And we care for each other, and we're kind and we're generous. So I bless you all, and I thank you for being here with me. And I look forward to the next 30 years with you all.